Hello and welcome to Seattle Citymakers. I'm your host, Jon Scholes. Well, welcome everybody to episode 17, where I am joined by my friend and a great leader in the city of Seattle, Colleen Echohawk. Colleen is the CEO of 8th Generation, which, if you're not familiar, is a native lifestyle brand headquartered in the city of Seattle. They have a retail shop in the Pike Place Market and a manufacturing and distribution center down in Georgetown. And they produce and make possible native designed art and home goods for an international audience. And you can get their goods at the market or on their website. And prior to being named as the CEO of 8th Generation, Colleen was a candidate for mayor last year. And we talk about the race for mayor and some of her takeaways from that experience. And prior to that, she was the executive director of the Chief Seattle Club, helping to amass $100 million in investment in affordable housing within our city. She's held a number of board positions on notable organizations across our city, including the Seattle Foundation and KUOW, a member of the Downtown Seattle Association board, and is recognized as one of Seattle's most influential people by Seattle Magazine in 2020 and 2019, and is one of the 50 most influential women by Seattle Met Magazine in 2018. She's been involved in searches for the chief of police, served on a number of task forces for the city and county, and brings a really broad and unique perspective on city issues, on safety, on homelessness, on policing and police reform. We talk about all of that, including 8th Generation and her new role there, and her run for mayor and her reflections on that experience of what it was like to run for office in the midst of a pandemic as a first-time candidate, and her advice for anybody thinking of running for office in the future. So I hope you enjoy my conversation with Colleen Echohawk, the CEO of 8th Generation. So tell us where we are.
We are at the headquarters of 8th Generation. 8th Generation is a native lifestyle brand owned by Snoqualmie Tribe.
And we're in the sewing room? Is that what's going on?
This is our production space for fine art prints. But we also, I think you're looking at our embroidery machines.
Embroidery, that's what that is.
We can embroider people's names on the blankets and make it personalized.
Well, we're going to talk about 8th Generation and
please do
what it is, and
it's very fun, it's very cool,
and all of that. We'll get to that. But thanks for spending time. I started my day, my morning with your husband.
Oh, good.
With Matt, who's been great in helping our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee build awareness and connections with tribal communities and nations. And now my afternoon with you. You're bookending my day.
Bookending. I'm glad. So, Matt and I have been together for 25 years.
Wow. Congrats.
We got together at 18 and 19.
Wow.
That's wild. I'm so old.
So how's your summer going generally?
It's going good. I kind of feel like I've been here at 8th Gen for like 8 months now. So I kind of feel settled in. We're doing some, making some changes, of course. But it's just an exciting time to be here at this company because our big push, of course, is November, December. I'm calling it the Big Show. If you've ever watched the movie Elf, the Big Show. Yeah, so I feel like very excited to get to be in the Big Show.
And this summer is a little different than last summer when you were running for mayor. And I wanted to spend a little time on that. We haven't really talked about it much, but I was curious.
Yeah.
One, what was most rewarding? What was most challenging?
Yeah.
And are you going to do it again?
What was most rewarding? Well, I think just being around so many people who just thought that this was a great idea. It was really like heartwarming to just have people, I used to be on a Zoom meeting and the rumors sort of got started and I would get 10 people messaging me like, are you going to do it? You should do it. Let's go for it. And just like that momentum, and it just feels good. And it was really fun to do. And I think that I'm also look back on it and it was like at this moment in time, right? Like I happened to have the expertise around some of the issues that were most important to the city around homelessness and around public safety and policing. And so I feel like called to service. And so if I just happen to have the right expertise for that time. So to answer your question about will I do it in the future, I guess it depends on are my skills needed in that moment for that time. I love Seattle. I'm we were just talking about how, we could be living in Hawaii right now where my husband's from, but, he graciously is living here. He'd rather live there, but I love it here. This is my place, my home. And so it was really awesome to be able to run for mayor, to do so well, first-time candidate, right? And to do as well as I did. I just felt like it was the right thing. And what was the hardest part about it, I think? Is that the other question?
Yeah, most challenging.
Oh, challenging. I think for me, I like people. I want to make everyone happy. And then when you're running for office, you're going to make a lot of people not happy, So that was hard. I just wanted to be like, sure, we could do that, and we could do that and that. And then, of course, you can't, right? Like, you have to be like, this is where we're going, and this is the vision. So that was a challenge. I like people to feel good and be happy, but
I remember you also mentioning the challenges of running a virtual race, more or less.
Yeah, that was a nightmare.
the traditional in-person campaigning, the hot community hall where you go talk to people face to face wasn't really part of the trail for you.
Absolutely.
Because of COVID.
Yeah, I think in July, I did like 4 or 5 events that were outside with people, and it felt amazing. It felt like, oh my gosh, I could do this forever. Because I get tons of energy by people, right? So being behind the screen was really tough. And also running against, when you're in these forums, I was running against people who had just tons of experience doing those forums. And then I'm doing it behind a screen, and it was nerve-wracking. It was nerve-wracking. But I also felt like I grew a lot in that too and got way more comfortable with it eventually. But the being behind the screen part of this was so hard. It makes me want to run again so I can do it in front of people and like with people.
More traditional route. Yeah.
So I don't know.
How did you approach the decision to run in the first place?
Well, oh man, that was a hard one. We had lots of, again, people were asking me all the time, and it was very flattering. But, just because people are asking you doesn't mean you should do something, right? I think I had to get to a point of like, okay, I feel like I mentioned earlier, like these are the homeless community who I care tremendously about. Put so much time into the Seattle Community Police Commission. And, we were on the chief of police search together, Jon, and it was just like there was just so many areas where I thought, well, I do have a very strong opinion and experience and vision for the city. And like I said, I care about the city. So I made the kind of personal decision and talked with my husband. It was hard on my kids. The decision for my kids was tough. There was at one point before we announced where I had said, okay, we're going to announce on like Monday. And then my kids were like backpedaling, like, no, we didn't really mean it. And we said yes. So that was tough on kids. And it made me really think a lot about people who are in the public eye and their children and their, the impact of social media on everything is tough. And my kids followed everything on social media. They saw the nasty comments and that was hard on them. That's part of the reason I really want to wait until they're older before if I ever run again.
What advice would you have to a first-time candidate that might be thinking of running for one of those city council seats next year that are up or something else?
I would say do it. It was a very rewarding experience. I mean, I'm so glad I did it. I would make the same decision again. I think that with our whole Seattle community needs new voices. We need, we have the redistricting going on. Like, there's just different opportunities that could be really powerful. And I think that if you kind of have this feeling like you should just, go for it and see it happens. I think that what we saw in the most recent election, a lot of different newcomers for state rep positions. Right. And I just was inspired by all of them and thought it was great that they were out there. So, I'd do it again and highly recommend for other folks to try. Are you going to do it next year, Jon?
No, thank you. You've not convinced me. Your advice is not compelling enough for me. I'm sorry.
I know. I'm like, it's a both and kind of experience for sure.
So one of the issues that you did, as you noted, bring quite a bit of expertise on from your role as the leader of the Chief Seattle Club was homelessness, and in addition to public safety and policing. And what do you think we're getting right when it comes to the city's response to the crisis of homelessness, as well as how we're thinking of 21st century policing, and where is there more opportunity?
Are we talking about policing or homelessness?
On both.
Okay. Well, I think that I get excited and optimistic when I hear about all the different housing that we're building. I mean, that's the answer. We have to build more housing. Housing is unaffordable here in Seattle, not just for the homeless community, but for a lot of people who live here. And
I should say I went by your project yesterday after the Mariner game, and I was scooting by on a scooter.
Yeah.
And looked up, and it looks gorgeous.
Isn't it
on
cool?
2nd and Yesler there for those not familiar. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So, I feel very fortunate that I was able to actually develop and build housing. And I don't know if you remember this, Jon, but we were talking about that project like so many years ago now. And you were like, well, you're a developer now, Colleen. You were the first person to tell me. I'm like, I am. I'm one of those people. But I'm glad I did, and I'm glad that there is more folks coming. We're seeing more and more BIPOC communities who are actually building housing. We're seeing, Africa Town and Chief Seattle Club, I think, has over 600 units in the pipeline right now.
Wow.
There's
how many when you first got there?
There was none when I first got there. Yeah. So we built out the first one, the All project. There's another project in North Seattle. There's 2 projects in North Seattle, I believe now. And then, the Office of Housing has really just been supporting the leadership at Chief Seattle Club now. My friend Derek Belgard, who's leading the whole process. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you still on the DSC board?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, Derek and I served together on the Downtown Emergency Service Center.
Good. Yeah.
board.
And so to answer your question, it's just like there's so much good housing, but it also is sort of like not enough. And so I'm really hoping that as the city continues to move forward on housing and homelessness issues, is that we continue to be like innovating about and changing what permitting looks like for housing. One of my kind of pet peeves about being in the development world was that what we know is almost all the housing in this world, in this country, sorry, not this world, but in this country is built by white men, right? So our architects in this country are predominantly white men. And so there's just different modalities of cultural housing that should be explored and should be lifted up. There's no reason why we shouldn't have a beautiful longhouse down in the waterfront in Seattle. In fact, that would be very appropriate for a city like Seattle, I think, to have that, which includes housing, which could look like housing that's more like, single room occupancies that we've had. Seattle, way back in the day had a lot of that kind of housing. And I think we just really need to be adapting quickly and moving forward. And I think that I think that Seattle is the place to get things right around changing the way that housing's always happened in this country.
What do you say to people who say, well, we were building a lot of housing and we're building more than ever, particularly low-income housing, and we're raising more money and bringing more money to bear on that issue, but we still see a lot of people in need outside. Like, what else do we need to be doing to sort of meet the moment and the crisis?
It is key for us to continue to be innovating in the way that we build out housing and the way we provide homeless services. And then the other larger issue is how we have responded to the mental health crisis. Like, if I had been mayor, one thing I was very excited about is truly treating it like an emergency. Those of us who have been downtown a lot, I used to work in Pioneer Square every day. I would see folks who needed way more support than they were getting around their mental health. And they were struggling so hard and they were themselves were in pain, and they were also causing a lot of pain to the neighborhood, And so I just feel like we have opportunity to treat it like a real emergency. We saw through COVID that we set up these amazing like tents in Memorial Stadium or whatever. Why can't we respond to that right now? There's incredible human suffering that's going on. And it's very hard for some of those folks who I just mentioned who've been out there for 5, 6, 7, 8+ years. It requires like a lot of bureaucracy that is very hard to manage. We need more behavioral health nurses out on the street. We need more folks who just have that practical, are trained by the city to like actually get out there and do some of that early triaging. And then you bring in the behavioral health nurses and you bring in the doctors and you help take care of people. But I think that for me and many other people in this city, when we see folks who have been there for years and years, it's extremely painful and extremely hard for all of us. And we in this city could and should do better.
Did you feel, even with the success you had and the great team and all the building you were doing at Chief Seattle Club, did you feel like ill-equipped to help some of the folks like that were right outside your front steps because of their severe mental illness, because they've been out there so long? And do you think other nonprofit housing providers are in a similar situation because of the mental health situation that's out there and so many people dealing with untreated mental illness?
I would say that the folks that I know and even myself when I was in that kind of work, it's not that we were ill-equipped. Like there were people who knew what to do. The problem was there wasn't the money. There wasn't the capacity within the system to actually have a bed for that kind of individual who's struggling so hard, right? And so the system has been failing for a long time. And so I think that the answer is to be giving, more money to DSC, for instance, and making sure that that those folks out there who have the answers, they have the capacity, but they just don't have the dollars and they don't have the beds. And those are the folks that we really need to be funding and getting the resources to.
And then when it comes to policing and public safety, security, you were part, as you noted, of the last police chief search. You've been part of the reform efforts and consent decree and bring a lot of expertise and experience. What do you think the city's getting right? What are opportunities there as we think about reforming policing going forward?
Yeah. I think that we have to do a better job of understanding the story of policing in this country. When I was running for office, I would often share with people like, hey, I have a problem with the way that policing is happening for the obvious reasons, but also because there is a deep-rooted systemic racism that is just part of what policing is about. We just can't get away from it. You'll hear people talk about how it's not a poisonous barrel, but there's or poisonous apple, but the barrel itself is poison because it's a structure, it's a system that has perpetuated white supremacy in this country, right? And that's why we see these really terrible statistics. So when I think about what we can do right here in Seattle, is that we can begin to say we are a part of this of a larger mission because we're a city that believes in social justice, of dismantling this system of oppression, which has been and continues to be policing. But we've learned a lot. We learned that some of the messages that we were hearing about policing just didn't resonate. And so that's why I talk about it, the storytelling piece of it. For many folks in this country, myself included, a police officer does not equate public safety. And that's something we have to continue to remember and engage with and not be afraid of encountering those different ways of communities of colors see police. And so I have experienced a lot of really amazing police officers. I've been around a lot of police officers because of my work. And I've seen some really negative things. I've seen some things that are really were really harmful. So I am committed to continuing to engage with our community and share those stories, share those the historical part of it as well, so that our communities can understand it and that we can become a city that is focused on public safety for everyone, not just for the rich, white, and educated folks that we hear about. So it's a larger story that we can build together.
Does dismantling to you though mean defunding? How do you differentiate?
That is a scary word, John. How dare you say that word to me? I think that we have to continue to reimagine policing, and reimagining public safety. I have, one of the things that really hits me in my core is when I hear about a police shooting that has to do with someone who has holding a knife. I have personally seen social workers who have disarmed someone with a knife in 3 seconds. And so I think that I can't not I have to be honest about like the way that I feel policing has harmed our communities. And I think that this city, with the amazing people who care about social justice, who were down there protesting in the middle of the pandemic after the murder of George Floyd and after the murder of Charlene Lyles and all of these different this community cares, and we're brilliant and smart and can do anything. We innovated around the way people drink coffee. We innovated around how people fly around the world. Right? Why can't we figure out a way to deal with this? It's hard. It's painful, but I believe we can, and I'm committed to that.
So you're not on the campaign trail still. This is bringing back.
I am not. Thank God.
I won't grill you on continued policy issues, but maybe help us better understand eighth generation. And you took that role on just at the turn of the year. Yeah. And for those that aren't familiar with eighth generation, give us kind of a snapshot. And then what's your vision and set of priorities for the company?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for being down here in our headquarters. Eighth Generation was the brainstorm of Louis Gong, who's Nooksack and Chinese, and he just saw an opportunity to bring Native cultural art to the marketplace. He started off by like drawing on Vans shoes, and people thought he would, really cool Native design on these shoes, and people wanted to buy them. And then it kind of just progressed from there. We're really proud to be actually manufacturing here in Seattle. Of course, there's just a lot around in the Native community about weaving and textiles. And so we're doing that right here. We're famous for our blankets, but we also have all kinds of other products. We work with Native artists from all over the country who trust us to bring their work and design into the marketplace. And so we are mostly home goods. This is very special place for me to think about. I've been a very strong advocate for there being kinds of different designs in our city, a different Native art and design in our city. But I also feel like it's really special in someone's home. You think about where we're at right now. We're in Seattle, Washington, Coast Salish City. This is Indian country, this whole country, right? But when you walk into your home, do you see much Native art and design? Almost no one does. Some Native people do, but most non-Native people don't. And that to me is...
Or in public space.
Or in public space, right?
Nor in public space, right? I mean, we've talked a little bit about this before.
I think people are somewhat uncomfortable. We recently had a focus group because I'm curious too. I'm like, why? What's the problem? I think we hear from folks in Seattle is that they're afraid that they might be perpetuating cultural appropriation, so they don't want to do that. And so we're always trying to remind people who are customers of Eighth Generation that if our Native artist has said, hey, I want this to be put, this design to be put on a towel, we do towels. It's not a sacred design. It's not a family design. It's just their art. And we should see more of that art in people's homes. And I have been, focused on my community for many years in my career. And I see this as a continuation of supporting the Native community by bringing this art to the marketplace, because we're being able to support people's livelihoods. For Native people, the racial wealth gap has not changed. It has not changed in 100 years. And so when I was working in the nonprofit world and getting to do all the things I, was able to do, and I'm really proud of that work, but I also feel like it was like a little tiny drop in the bucket, and that that upstream there were so many folks who are in danger of falling into homelessness. And so having this opportunity to encourage entrepreneurs, bring pay these artists to ensure that the team out here in the warehouse right now, who are mostly Native team, that they are getting the support that they need, that they can live in the city and get paid well. And there's just, it just goes on and on and on what it means to have such a upcoming Native-owned business here in Seattle. I was mentioning these guys earlier that when Louis called me to recruit me to do this job, I was totally caught off guard. I had not thought about it at all, but my kids were in the car. And they were like, you have to do it, Mom. You've got to be the CEO of 8th Gen. And they did not know. They're like, don't ever do the mayor thing.
They just didn't want you to run for office again, right?
Yeah. But what the reason that they wanted me to do that is that for years now, because we've bought gift after gift from eighth generation, my family and I, they see themselves represented in a way that you don't see yourself represented as a Native person somewhere, right? You don't go into Target and see anything made by a Native person, right? And so when we think about the future of this company, Louis Gong, our previous CEO, he was like, this company needs to go global. And it doesn't need to go global because it's like super cool, which it is. But it needs to go global because every single person around the globe needs to know about Native people, needs to know about our resilience, need to know about how beautiful our art and design are, and know that we're still here. We had at the Seattle Art Museum probably 3 or 4 years ago, there was the exhibition by Edward Curtis. And Edward Curtis was famous for, photographing Native people. His work was called The Vanishing Race. And it was called that because they did think that we weren't going to make it, right? He was trying to memorialize this, our community that he thought was going to be gone. And so when I think about the work of eighth generation, when I hopefully, you all will buy some kind of item, like you're drinking coffee out of one of our mugs. And now how I feel about your mugs, Jon. I'm following you on Instagram.
You have some beautiful white and black mugs.
That would look great our tumblers, those Costello's tumblers.
With my color palette.
Yeah, they're beautiful. So I see eighth generation and the work that we're doing to bring Native art into people's homes as revolutionary. That it should be there, that we all should be engaged and involved with Native art because that's whose land that we're on. And I think it's really exciting, and I'm having a great time, to be honest. This is the best job I've ever had.
Is there any sort of challenge or consideration of leading a company right after the founding CEO has handed you the reins? Like, how do you think about that, or do you think about that?
Well, Louis was an old friend. And so he was really clear with me what the issues were going to be. So nothing has been a super big surprise. Also, I love that eighth generation is owned by the Snoqualmie tribe. And so I haven't worked for a tribe in years and years and years. And they're just such a cool tribe, just doing such, they bought this, they could have bought in another company, right? But this company resonates with their values, and they want to be supporting the larger Native community. And so it hasn't been too rough so far. It's very different work. Very different, but I love it. I'm having a good time.
And people can buy products at your Pike Place shop, but also online.
Online,
right?
Yeah. So we have a huge online presence. We invite people to follow us on all of the social medias. We really have a strong Instagram following. And then you can also get onto the Pike Place Market. We're right below the gum wall. It's a little bit hard to find. It's the atrium. Come visit us. Come buy all this cool Native art. And anything that we sell, the Native artist has been behind it and said, yes, I want everyone to buy this product. We're trying to remind people that all of this art here and products we have at eighth generation were designed by Native people for everyone to use and enjoy.
And your role then is really to manufacture and sort of bring to market and create those channels.
Yeah.
Is that, you're taking designs from artists around the country and here, then you're manufacturing. That's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
It's so fun. We have our inspired Native artists, we call them, and they're kind of our design team. So, the product development crew, they're like, oh, we should do a hip bag. And they think about what artists would be, we think it could work with. And they call that.
Is that what you call a fanny pack?
Yes.
Nowadays?
That's what you call a fanny pack.
Or a crossbody?
A crossbody. Fanny pack is not a good word.
Tell me more.
Nope, that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Good to know.
In Europe, people do not say that.
I learned something new.
It means something else, yes.
I learned something new.
So we're a global company, Jon. We call it a hip bag.
Maybe our listeners learned something new as well, or maybe everybody else knew that but me.
Yeah. You're going to want to cut that out of this.
James, did you know that? James did not know that, and he travels to Europe frequently. Brent didn't know it either. Well, people are going to be Googling.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just going to cut it out, and you don't want it in here.
I don't know. We'll Google and let the Google decide.
Okay, you guys can.
So a hip bag.
Hip bag. So,
Or a crossbody.
our product development team says, let's do this. We think about what artists what art we think could work well. We talk to that artist. Every time we take someone's art, we get their permission before we put it on a towel or before we put it on a sheet or a pillow or whatever, and make sure they feel good about it. And then we create this beautiful product. And it's been so fun for me to get to think about all these different ways that we can produce these beautiful items that people want to buy, and then seeing that money go back into the company and back into the artist is very rewarding.
And it's great stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
We have
can
some
take a look on the site or
really
get
cool
down
stuff.
to the market. There's
Yeah.
a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
We conclude each podcast with the question, Colleen, of what is your perfect Saturday in Seattle?
It's so hard. There's so many things I like to do on the weekends. Well, since it's been nice out in the summer, we've been going to a different park every Saturday morning and just trudging around the park. And we either go out to Porter's Bay or we get a breakfast burrito from our favorite taco truck on 99 on Aurora. For some of you in downtown may not know where that's at, but it's a great
It's north,
place.
right?
It's north.
Yeah.
We go to Anita's taco truck, or we go to the taco truck in Home Depot, which is El Camion. And we like both those places a lot. And then, I think just getting to get outside and be with the fam. I have a 13 and 15-year-old, so I'm feeling the reality they're not going to be with me forever.
Yeah.
So just getting to hang out with them is good.
I feel that too.
Yeah. And then the other thing I love to do when my daughter is when soccer season is happening. I know we have different feelings about this.
Yes,
Jon.
we do.
I love watching my daughter play soccer. It's so weird. I don't know why I like this. I don't play anything. I'm so not.
It's not weird. I think it's more weird if you don't, which is the camp I fall into. But I think you're in good company.
Are you weirder than me?
About soccer? No, I'm just saying.
No,
I
in
think,
general.
Probably. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
No, but I love watching my daughter play soccer. That's the fall is really fun for me to get out there. And
Yeah.
although now she's playing for her school team and they don't do it on the weekends.
You're going to miss out.
I know. I feel sad about it. Oh, well. But yeah, that's there's so many. And then I love going to, I go out to dinner all the time on Saturdays with people. I love our restaurant scene here.
Are you mostly up in North Seattle, or are you venturing
We
other
go out
parts
to
of the
Capitol
city?
Hill and downtown quite a bit.
Yeah.
And now that we have, in Northgate, we have light rail now.
Yeah.
So it's really easy just to pop on there
It's a quick
and go
trip.
downstairs. Yeah. Or did I say downstairs? And go to Capitol Hill, which I
Capitol
guess in
Hill
my mind
downtown.
is downstairs.
We know what you're talking about. Well, thank you for taking time to do this with us and for your contributions to
course.
our city and for being a great voice and what you're doing here. I'm going to pick up a blanket or a mug or a hip bag.
A hip bag. They're not officially for sale.
And I'm going to
The other
go
thing we have,
to the
Jon,
market, not online. Not that there's anything wrong with online, but it's...
in the market, it's fun. The other thing that we have that's coming out in the next couple of days is a brand new dog collar and leash.
Oh,
And they're so nice. I just saw them.
like a matching set.
Yes, they're so cute.
Okay.
Yeah, it's designed by a Michelle Loudon, who is from she's I can't think of what tribe she's from now. She's Pueblo. Oh yeah, she's Pueblo. Yeah.
I know.
So-
I know what Zoe's going to
Yeah.
get for Christmas.
Zoe's getting that beautiful
Yeah.
leash and collar. Yeah.
Well, thanks,
And
Colleen.
you can buy one of our hip bags. It's not you at all, but it's,
Right on.
it's not gray. It's very colorful.
The leash collar set.
No, the hip bag.
Oh, the hip bag. Okay. Okay. Well, when they come back in white or gray, sign me up.
This is so fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, hope you enjoyed my conversation with Colleen Echohawk. It was great to get down to the Georgetown Manufacturing and Distribution Center that 8th Generation has, and I look forward to getting over to the market to get to their shop. You can shop there or online. So many different goods, from great tumblers and prints and bags and stuff for your pet, all sorts of things at 8thgeneration.com. A great place to go for that special gift for a special someone, either for the big show in the holiday season or whatever the occasion may be. 8thgeneration.com. I want to close out today, as I do each and every episode, with a recommendation of what you can't miss downtown. And my recommendation is really a reminder of the go-to site for everything going on downtown. A ton of stuff there. LoveSeatown.com, brought to you by the Downtown Seattle Association. It's an expansive recommendation today on things you can't miss, which are all listed, the details, the dates, everything you need to know at LoveSeatown.com. From the South Lake Union Street food tour coming up to chef-guided food tours of the Pike Place Market, to BetFest, the South Lake Union Saturday Market is back, Sunday morning yoga at Pacific Place. The list goes on and on. Check out LoveSeatown.com for all the latest happenings this month and into the fall in downtown Seattle. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today on Seattle City Makers, which is presented by the Downtown Seattle Association with support from James Cito and production by Spark Creative.